Hi, everybody. Gonna give folks just like another minute or so. Doesn't usually try to give everyone a couple minutes. I know the web login stuff. Can everyone hear me okay? Can we do a sound check? Give me someone right in the box and the text. Just give me a little thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Awesome, thank you. So today is our Krumphau class. We are going to be exploring the Krumphau in a couple of different contexts. We're going to be kind of looking at it with the two different ways that the Zettel describes it, which is a mechanism, a displacing against the guard of Ox, or the Lega of Ox, and as well as use against strikes from above and below. And so that's going to be kind of our approach to this today. And as you'll see, as I kind of go further on, I think there's a distinction between the way that they're applied. So that will be kind of it will be kind of an interesting segue and a little bit. And I will admit my own interpretation of some of the material for a very particular point, as you all see. I will be tonight using my teaching stick. I don't really have a fetter shred right now that is in practical condition for using for a class. My mire has a crack in it that makes it very unusable, and I have a feeling it's going to essentially explode at any minute. And I have my it's just off camera here, but I have my little helper droid. And we'll be doing some Krumphau against a static robot opponent and have a little slideshow. Hooray! Anyway, let us do our warm-ups, and then we'll salute in and do some practice cuts. All right? All right, so put whatever swords you got aside, and we're going to do some quick warm-ups. All right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, good. Grab your sword-like object. All right, beginning on the left shoulder. And Achtung, Grüße. All right, let's do our warm-up cuts. Excuse me. All right, so beginning in the Heuchlugensland oder Wamtag, we're going to strike Oberhau to the skull. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, we're going to now cut to long point, the long point or the throat height. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, to the Alber height, so all the way down. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so either from the high Vomtag or the shoulder Vomtag, your choice. I want you to cut right Oberhau to Alber. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch your feet. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sehr gut. Okay. Back in the Oberhut, we're going to do Oberhau, Unterhau. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch your feet. Same thing, but right Oberhau, left Unter. All right. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sehr gut. Okay. Mittelhau, Mittelhau. Hopefully, let's see if I can try to avoid hitting my plant. Okay. All right. Mittelhau. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch sides. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's go into ox on the right-hand side. If you have the space, step and do Oberhau. All right. I'm going to start with the right leg forward because I don't really have the stepping space without colliding into a lot of stuff. Okay, so into the ox. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Into the Neben on the right. And Oberhau would step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, into ox on the left-hand side. Oberhau would step. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, into Neben, the side guard on the left, and Oberhau, if you have the space, Oberhau would step. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Let's do some thrusting practice now, yeah? What do we got for time? Oh, good, we're just on time. All right, good. Let's do some thrusts. All right, let's go into Flug on the right. We're going to thrust into ox on the right as well, with taking that step. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we're going to go from right to left. Right Flug to left Ox. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Okay, so now from Flug to the long point, all right? And eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Good. Now we're going to, now this is going to be tricky, kind of. We're going to wind from Flug on our right to a stabbing Flug on the left. It's like a low thrust, okay? Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Okay, let's switch flugs, all right? So let's go into Flug on the left. We're going to thrust into Ox on the left. And eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. All right, now from Flug on the left to Ox on the right. All right, and one, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Sehr gut. Okay, so now what we'll do is from left Flug, we're going to thrust to long point. And eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Okay, now from what we're going to do is do the opposite windings. So we're going to go from left Flug to thrusting with a low right Flug. All right? Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Good. All right. into the middle point, or the long point, and we're going to shoot the tip. Right? The first time when we do this, we're going to first shoot, and we're going to make it so that our dominant hand, so right hands, not our sinister hand, yeah, so our dominant hand is turned into the kind of, I guess, classical second position, or rapier might know this is second. So it's going to be at shoulder height, and my fingernails should be pointing to the ground. All right, and your left hand will push, your sinister hand will push forward with the sword, but mostly be pushing forward and kind of following the right hand. All right, and eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. All right, so still from the long point, we're going to thrust, but now we're going to put our hands in fourth, or like as Rapier would say, fourth. Their dominant hand, our fingernails are pointing to the sky, and our sinister hand is kind of following along. All right, and eins, again, shoulder height as best we can. Zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Okay, now what we're going to do is straight in. All right, so straight in, aim for the throat. So you kind of want to line up your tip to your throat and push forward. All right, and eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. All right. So those are our warm-ups. Check on the time here. Okay, so it's just about 7:25. We got a couple minutes for. All right. So because why not? We're going to do some sword squats. All right. Over the past few weeks, we've been doing basic squats to kind of, get our heart rate up a little bit during this exercise. I know it's not prolonged cardio, but it's something, right? I know I need it. But what I want to try to do is this a really great exercise. It also comes kind of from like the JSARs to this as well. But I think it's very helpful. So what I want everyone to do is take your sword, put it behind you the best you can. If you have a big cross guard, that's okay. Turn it so the flat is facing you. All right. And so it's okay if it's whooshing loudly through the air, as long as it can kind of sit backwards and you have just enough clearance space to bring your sword forward, or your sword trainer forward. Okay. And what I want you to do is I want you to bring the sword back, and I want you to open up your chest and your shoulders and your elbows as much as possible, and just get a nice grip, a whipping grip on the sword. All right, we're not looking for swordsperson's grip. We're just looking for a whipping grip, a grip that'll allow you to whip that sword forward a little bit. What you're going to do, nice wide stance, and you're going to cut into a lunge, and back, and cut, and back. Okay, you try to use all of this to get this happening. Okay, we're going to see. We'll start with 10, and then we'll go faster. Okay, so we'll do 10 slow. So sword on your back, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let's do 10 more. A little faster. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good work. All right, so for this next set, what we're going to do is give yourself a little space to step into. And we're same thing. Start here, but what we're going to do is you're going to lunge and cut into a squat, and then backwards. All right, and then we're going to switch feet. So and down. All right. So start with your feet together. Sword behind you, hoping I don't destroy my apartment. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. And all right, take a quick water break. Quick water break. That got us just up to where we want to be for the time. All right, so go grab some quick water or hydration of your choice, and we will begin our lecture. Okay. All right. So it looks like this is going to jitter a lot if I try to do this picture-in-picture again. So what I'm going to do is turn myself off. All right, and as well as this. And we'll see if that helps with the lag problem. I'm just going to wait for my whole computer thing to kind of catch up with itself here. Okay. So I'm assuming, can someone please type in the box if you can still hear me? I'm just experiencing some mega lag, and I just want to make sure that the audio isn't... Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So let me see if I can... speed this up a little bit here. Fix this. Yep. Yep. Okay. Yeah, the video is frozen. That's not surprising. So give it 1 second just so it can try to keep catch up. I'm going to try to refresh my webcam here. It's always a problem. especially when I try to do these presentations. Let me see if I can fix this in. Okay, I'm back. I'm assuming everyone can hear me okay? Okay, there we go. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I am back. I am now going to share a screen. Present now. Present a window. Do, do, do. All right. So here, okay. All right. So what we have going on here is we're going to talk about Krumphau. All right. So we're going to review the original text, and then we're going to examine some basic actions, including, and then we will go over some basic applications. And like I said earlier, there's kind of a everyone can see the slideshow. Yeah, just type in the box if you can see the slideshow. I can send you the slideshow on a floppy disk. Okay, cool. Okay. And then we're going to, like I said earlier, we're going to kind of examine some of the basic kind of Krumphau stuff. I'm hoping we can still do everything. The webcam being weird, it keeps being weird, so we'll see what we can do. Okay. All right. So first, the source text. As always, like to cite sources. I'm always gonna pimp this book. I think it's a great version of German longsword fencing. Check it out. Okay. So for those of you following along with your books, this is 13. Krumphau begins on 13V, which is page 116 and 117 in the physical copy of the book. All right. So crump upwards nimbly, throw the point on the hands. They who displace well with the crump will wound many strikes with steps. So that's the and then we go on to the text. Know that the Krumphau is one of the four displacings against the four guards, because you oppose both Ox and Ober with it, as well as the Unterhau. Do it as follows. When you come at them in the Zufechten, and they stand against you with the sword before their head and the guard of Ox on their left side, then put your left foot forward and hold your sword at the right shoulder in the guard. I think this is important. Jump from this guard with your right leg well to the right side, and strike them with long edge out of crossed arms. Now, people who have taken this Krumphau class before will know that I have. This is going to be a sticking point for me. So, basic actions. We're gonna just go look straight up at I want to kind of focus in here directly on just like the crook up swiftly, throw it, or crump nimbly up, throw the point over the hands, because I think it's interesting the way that it's worded, specifically because let's take a look at what this is. Okay. So one of the things that so specifically what I want to look at right now is this one little piece in which we were talking about using Krumphau against Ox. Okay. And so that means someone is coming at you and they've come into the left Ox, right? And that could either be as I've been teaching it, Ox like point offline, or that very aggressive Ox tip is very in your face, or even kind of a shitty Ox that might be trying to kind of entice you to do something. Now, either way, let's say this person's coming into an Ox, right? Basically, what we're asked to do is we need to defend ourselves, because what they're saying is that this person is coming at you with ox, right? This is the active iteration of ox. Even if it's slow, there's still this threat. They're threatening you here. So what they're asking you to do is defend yourself and then riposte, right? This is kind of how I approach all of the hidden cues, right? So for so what they're asking you to do is put your you can't really see the ground, but put your left foot forward. So okay, my left foot is forward, and be in a guard from the right shoulder, and then from that guard, toss the long edge out of crossed arms over their hands. Right now, I'm going to say this section, I think I really truly believe that the ox is broken down into two different segments. It's one is the method of a arching or weighted parry against the ox guard, and then also against Ober and Unterhau, right? As it says in the text before, it really divides those things, right? So what we need to make sure that we're doing is, if someone's coming at you like this, you're defending yourself, and then you are throwing out of crossed arms, as the text says, out of crossed arms, using throwing the long edge and the tip over their sword arms into their head. Now, it's gonna be kind of hard. Again, I apologize. I don't have the big wide camera, so we'll do what we can. But let's bust out the helper droid, okay? Our little helper droid. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set this little droid up as if they're attacking an ox. Boop, 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 boop. Right? So left ox. Right? So left ox. So when someone goes in the left ox, that means, and this is greatly exaggerated, a little more space. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Left ox. That means that sword is on my right side. Now, I'll move it around to kind of show another perspective soon. So if I'm putting my left side forward, whereas it asked me to do initially, I'm giving them this opening, but they're not really going to take it. The sword's already over here, right? And it wants me to put the sword at my right shoulder in a guard. Now, I'm just going to demonstrate what I think it is in terms of this, all right? And then we'll get into it a little bit. So from here, we're going to cut the line, close off the line, right? By going into this kind of right oxish kind of guard, okay? And then what we're going to do is cut out of crossed arms and over the arms into the head, right? And you can kind of see what that would look like here. Let me rotate that again. Let me do it again, and I'll rotate it, all right? So let's say I'm at my shoulder, it's at my shoulder, and I'm stepping forward with my left arm, and I'm closing the line. All right. Boom. So like a low, it's almost think of like flug, or a ox, kind of, but held low, if that makes sense. You'll see, I'll show you more in a second. All right. And then stepping out with my right foot to then cut in. All right. That is to displace an incoming thrust. And if this was a sword, I have a messer here. I can kind of show you a little bit what that looks like. Folks will recognize, messer folks will recognize this as well. All right. Sorry about that. We have this kind of striking parry, right? And what they're asking, because you have a longer implement here, you're able to parry, right? You're able to parry with your sword, and then cut in over the head or arms, right? Again, this is greatly compressed space. And what's nice about this is it allows you to do a few different things. It allows you to explain in this overcoming. It allows you to use concepts like weak and strong and hard and soft, right? As I've always said, when we're trying to safely displace things, we want to make sure to use our strong against their weak, right? So that way we know we keep ourselves safe. And then after that, we can exploit. And also it allows us to feel what they're doing, because as the text also says, you can crump onto the blade and then do other things, right? You can wind and do all sorts of noble war, the after work, right? Doing certain things about trying to get too close, even with a longer sword. The kind of crumping to the hands, that laming action, I think comes later. It definitely does in the Udalev book. It comes later in terms of dealing with Ober and Unterhaus, right? We'll get to that in a second, all right? So this first iteration of Krumphau versus... actually, I'm sorry, I meant to change this here. All right. Oh, it's tight fit. So you see, we're squared off, and this person has, this fencer has gone to left ox. And once they've gone to left ox, I have to respond, right? This, let me get my sword-like object here. It's a little longer, it makes the context a little easier to do here, right? Yeah. Now by going and and kind of doing this, rotating to like a low ox, or if I was further away, I could probably even use ox to cut off that line and cut that parry down, basically to displace the tip using the middle or strong of my sword. I can then do a Krumphau. I can then cut out of crossed hands to the head, right? Over the hands, right? Keep myself safe, attack, riposte, right? Keep self safe, riposte. Safe, 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 attack. Now, I know what you're all thinking. What you're all thinking, the fuck is this, right? It's Krumphau. But what? So, like, the fuck is this? It's Krumphau. Dina, okay, I'm sorry, there's a couple questions coming in. Is the initial displacement done with the short edge? Looks like short edge. Yes, Dina is correct. It is the short edge. Now, it's not a completely inverted hand. It's you are using the short edge. It's kind of like when you go to when the text later asks you to go to Schrankhut on their left side, right? It's that kind of action, right? It's winding and yep, boom. Right. This allows for a couple different things. We'll get more into it, right? So it's not the Messer, so like it's not winding with the inverted hand like Messer. It's, think of it as, because it still wants you to take your left hand and put it underneath your right, wind it underneath your right. But then what the text then wants you to do is strike out of crossed hands, right? So yes, I know it sounds different, but hear me out. So let's take a look at the, everyone can see this picture okay? I hope it's not too pixelated. So this picture is from the Goliath Effect book manuscript, and this is something that typically accompanies a lot of the Peter van Danzig and a lot of those texts, all right? And Lichtenauer, straight up like classic Lichtenauer tradition in the most Lichtenauer way, yeah? Now, it says that the person on the left has done the Krumphau against Ox. This is, after comparing a lot of the other images, this is kind of the finished, like kind of the final point, the finishing point of the Krumphau, yeah? And so what's interesting, what I found really interesting is like, huh, it doesn't really have crossed hands, right? Like, traditionally, we think of Krumphau as like crossing the hands and cutting with that. Yes, but that's later, okay? It seems as though to me, that when you're using you're using the Krumphau, the hidden part of the strike is that unwinding of the hands, right? Basically, like we're setting ourselves up into a guard to protect us from Ox. We've displaced. And then the hidden hue part is coming around. That's the arcing strike part. All right. What also fueled also great butts in HEMA, like HEMA art, right? It also fueled some weird speculation. Is this this particular manuscript from 1493? this is it's doing the Krumphau against Ox as well, or against someone who's doing was going into Ox or something. I forget what the exact phrasing is. I'll dig it up and send it to you. But the person again on the left here is doing a version of Krumphau. But it's again, I'm like, oh wow, it looks like a white, more like but it's this text tends to have more of these kind of, much like the Lekukner ones. It's kind of inconsistent about what has beginning and ending images. And I was like, oh, well, that person's not really in. At first, I thought it was like inverted. Something was wrong. Because it's like, oh, well, that person, I mean, their hands backwards, but let's pretend they couldn't draw thumbs very well, or hands very well. Why would their hand be like this? All right, again, I'm like, oh, because you're creating a line, right? Now, this text is from Hans Meidel, and this more has to do with images of regarding like crumping to the blade or displacing with the blade. But again, what we see here is the short edge is being used down against the blade from Ox, right? And the arms are crossed while they're against the blade. And then again, it says out of crossed arms. So this for me, this is adding like different layer. And again, see how the left foot is forward here for this initial part of putting the long edge against the Ox. So then you cut out of it. Yeah. And I think this all kind of fits. So again, I kind of looked at it like this way. You're protecting yourself by kind of creating this closed line, right? And there's a lot of things could happen here, but let's pretend this is a particular like instructional point. Yeah. We have this left Ox. Coming at you. And you're closing the line. And then you're striking around with the right to strike the head. Right? Now, I don't think it's not incredibly different to a lot of the things we've already learned. It's just a different take on kind of what the different Krumphau, like how Krumphau is being implemented, right? You know, Krump at the time meaning arching or heavy weighted. So I've kind of come up with this because by looking at the language in the books, when you're using Krump versus Ox, it's asking you to strike out of crossed arms, very specifically out of crossed arms. And this is true in both Udalev and 3227A. Woo! That was closer than I thought. It's asking you to strike out of crossed arms when you're doing this against Ox. Yet when you're doing it from Stronghood again, and it's asking you to kind of use Stronghood as a counter for Ober and Unterhau, either as a bait or maybe you've actually landed on the blade for some reason, or your sword's over the blade because you're maybe blocking off Ober. You're striking with crossed arms, right? It's asking you to open yourself, especially when the Oberhau technique, it's asking you to suppress, to do the displacement with cutting with crossed arms, two crossed arms, right? So you're giving yourself an opening on the left, your hands are open on the right in Stronghood, and they're coming around to then snap in or immediately cut up, right? Same thing on the back, on the opposite side, it's asking, well, because it's the opposite side, you're doing opening, and it specifically says out of crossed arms and in. So that made me think of like, basically what it's having us do is kind of enter this Stronghood kind of posturing, but up here to block off the Ox and then cutting in. So that's just kind of, this is my interpretation of this. And you can easily see that, again, it fits into the idea of the windings and the kind of crossing your hands and the transition between these postures of ox and flug, and Vomtag and Albur as kind of this, the movements of all your actions are the movements between these things, right? And so what I've done here is I've given some practice. We don't have enough time to do all these. I apologize. I thought, but I'm going to send this PDF out to folk. And there are a couple of pages of practicing Krumphau from the different positions. And it's just like a good little practice session for you to do, take like the next half hour or build it into your schedule. It gives you something to do. So again, real quick, just because I know it's like weird and different. When I'm talking about Krumphau against an incoming ox, you're cutting out of crossed arms. You're basically crossing your arms to protect yourself and cutting out of crossed arms, right? When you're doing from Schrankut, you're beginning in these different open or closed arms and then still striking the arcing cue. Okay, so that's my current version. So that's kind of my current interpretation of Krumphau. Let's see, we have to wrap up, but does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions before we move along to kind of just general announcements and wrapping up? No? Okay. All right. So let's salute out, and then we have some quick announcements. All right. So let's swords on our right shoulders. Achtun. Begrüße. And at ease. Okay. I'm going to just put this away so I don't impale myself. I just wanted, before everyone goes, I just wanted to get everyone caught up with the schedule and announcements and stuff. Thank you so much for dropping in tonight. We have some very, very exciting classes coming up. So I just wanted to go over real quick the schedule. All right, so what we got coming up this Friday, we have this Friday, Dan Holliday is doing a workshop for us. This is how we shmew it. It has a lot to do with hand, foot alignment, and body placement. So check it out. That's Friday. All these classes can be signed up at gemac.club. And then also coming up next week, I'll be doing Zwerchau. And Rebecca Glass will be doing Intro to Historical Research lecture. The following week, I will be off. And KDK will be doing a sword fitness body check. And Dr. Josh Wickman will be doing a workshop on rotational mechanics of swords, torque, and leverage. It sounds awesome. It's going to be fantastic. Check it out. And then our last class of the month, I will be giving my Messer talk. Not the fun Messer where you fight without real protective equipment, but the weight of the exchange. Maybe we'll do a Messer class another time. That being said, sign up for all these classes at gemac.club. And then when you sign up, we'll shoot you the link of where you can sign on. You can also feel free to check out longestmesser.com, which is where myself and a lot of my comrades are posting hemo-related articles. And all these videos are accessible on both websites. Longest Messer is also where I also vent a lot of my weird, as I like to call them, tinfoil hat ideas. So check it out. And also for people who are interested in picking up uniforms and T-shirts with our class logo on it, or the links, check out longestmesser.com. We have a resources page. Highly recommend, especially since, and that brings me actually to the next subject. Probably not in April, but as things hopefully, knock on wood, improve in New York City COVID-wise, I'm going to start, much like over this past summer, beginning to offer in-person classes on the weekends, probably on Saturdays outdoors. I am going to say, as most folks know, I have moved, so they will most likely be downtown. We are going to work with some folks to see if we can also do some uptown classes. But I'm hoping that we'll have some fun. We'll have some fun Messer and Longsword related content. And that being said, as a kind of work up to those classes, I am going to ask folks to look into picking up uniforms and making sure you have class T-shirts and things. Simply because it makes us look like a clean group, like it's like a nice consistent group, but also it is a safety concern. When we have groups out in public, we want to put our best face forward, but also when we have a group of folks who are all wearing kind of the same uniform and practicing, we find that we get I would say harassed by the authorities less. So it just kind of protects all of us. And we will work on figuring out whether we'll be doing rattan or steels in the park. That's a to be determined. And also, so that's as far as I can get. So that's looking like that will probably be May, because I feel as though April is going to be very inconsistent, probably very rainy. Anyway, I know I'm running overtime here. So that being said, if you get a chance, please check out my Ko-Fi page, or at least feel free to donate to help support these classes. I don't charge for these classes currently, but all the any donations go towards back into these and helping build resources, keeping the lights on, keeping the technology and research coming. And if you can't, that's okay too. Please keep tuning in and enjoying these classes, because it's things are crazy, and I just want everyone to keep the HEMAs going. Okay. Thank you all so much for coming to class. And I hope to see you all soon. Okay. Have a great night.